pretty much this is my 15/16 in pregnant video. I'm pretty much just gonna go into the details of just, you know, how the whole situation went, and how my family reacted, how I got through it, and kind of just a brief, you know, insight as to like where we are right now. So, pretty much I was 15 whenever I got pregnant with my son Averick. I was not with his father, and just like a little heads up, so like I'm not going to really talk about his father very much, nor say his name. So with that being said, I got pregnant in grade 10, second semester. It was February, the end of February. And I didn't figure out until after we had gotten back from March break. That was pretty funny. So the way it happened was I kind of had a feeling that I was, just because I had the implantation bleeding over March break. So once March break was over, I pretty much, like, there was 2 girls from a drama class at the point, and I was like, listen, like, I think, like, it is happening. Like, I think that I'm pregnant. So I went to the pharmacy. I skipped one of my classes and went to the pharmacy, got a pregnancy test. And I took it in the downstairs washroom of the my high school with the 2 girls in the bathroom with me, like, waiting. And, like, I wasn't paying any mind to it. I personally didn't feel like I was expecting it. I wasn't really thinking much of it. So, I mean, when it came back positive, like, I kind of, like, sat there and I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, what now? Like, it was just, I think I was in a state of shock, and, like, I just didn't really know how to react to it. So my family didn't find out until, I'd say, maybe like mid-April. And I think that everybody thinks that, you know, all my family was just like super supportive from the get-go of me being pregnant, but really that wasn't the case. So it actually put like a huge dent in just my whole family whenever they found out that I was pregnant. So my aunt pretty much had disowned me, and she was like, it's also concerning the fact that she was trying to get pregnant for like the past 2 years, and then to find out that her goddaughter / niece got pregnant at the age of 15, obviously that's a tick off, right? So she pretty much disowned me, and was pretty much just like, you know, just washed her hands out of it, didn't want anything to do with me, which was understandable at that point. My mom and just all my family was pretty much trying to talk me into getting an abortion. And, you know, like, there was technically 2 abortion appointments scheduled. The first one I actually never really ended up going to. The second one I ended up going to. So my aunt, my mom, and my grandmother, and I also had a friend there with me when we went. And they, it was the most awkward situation ever, because the night beforehand I had my friend sleep over because she was coming to the appointment the next day, and my sneaky self had called Planned Parenthood and was like, listen, can you try and like get a hold of the Riverside Hospital and try and intervene in my appointment, or at least let the doctor know who's going to be performing the procedure that I don't want to go through with it, just so I don't have to show up there, look like a fool, be like, hey, yeah, I'm here, but like I don't want to go through with the abortion. So, you know, I just didn't want to do that just offhand like that. So pretty much like that day of the abortion, like when the doctor took me into the room, she was like, I got the call from Planned Parenthood, and like the relief that I felt was incredible, just because like I knew from the get-go that I did not want to go through the abortion, just because, you know, I didn't feel comfortable with it, and I knew that I did want to keep Averick despite being so young and like the situation not being ideal and not being with his father. So like that happened, and then they ended up calling my entire family into the room or at least the girls that were there with me, and they were like, she doesn't want to go through with it, and you guys need to respect that. You can't force her into it. And my aunt like lashed out, and she was like, you know, like, I came here, I was trying to support you, but now that you're doing this, you're being like, yeah, there's a lot of words that were said, and you know, she was obviously upset, and I totally understood that. So she ended up leaving afterwards, and like the whole situation was a mess, and like I still didn't understand how to kind of like break it to my family that I want to keep him entirely. So I pretty much just like, yeah, like I'm just gonna lean into like adoption or something like that. And so for like the next maybe like month and a half, 2 months, like they thought I was gonna go through with an adoption or whatever. And then I guess they kind of just understood and like sensed it, and they were like, nah, she's not gonna go through with an adoption. So they just kind of started like, you know, planning for it, and they were like, well, I guess she's keeping, you know, the baby and whatnot. So it was definitely a hard patch within our family, but we definitely did get through it. And halfway through my pregnancy, like my aunt came all around, and she helped out with the baby shower and whatnot. So that definitely did help. Another thing, so I actually did continue going to school just because I got pregnant in February. My classes and whatnot ended in June, so it wasn't that bad. And you know, it was, a lot of people were talking obviously, and it took me a good maybe like 4 months to actually start showing, so nobody really paid any mind to it. It's definitely not the most ideal situation, and like I will tell this to anybody who does get pregnant at such a young age. Like my family, the entire time that I was pregnant, they were saying, you know, it's one thing to be pregnant and say that you're having a baby, but the aftermath of it, you know, taking care of the child, the responsibility that comes with it, the obstacles that you're going to face, you know, the sacrifices that you're going to have to make. And I feel like that's something that I personally wasn't paying any mind to. And of course you're not like in the moment of it, you know, you're pregnant, you're trying to enjoy the pregnancy and whatnot. So it's definitely a conflicting situation. You know, you're put into such a mature situation at such a young age, and you need to make all these mature choices. And I personally feel like I didn't put as much attention on the aftermath of what it would be like as I should have. But I have definitely grown since then, and I do everything that I do on a daily basis for my son. So, I mean, overall, like, it definitely was hard, and his father wasn't involved pretty much throughout the entire pregnancy. Like, he was doing his own thing. He had a new girlfriend at like one point in it, and his family, pretty much just like my family at the beginning, were trying to like get me to go through with going for an abortion, and obviously I didn't want that. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm a very persistent and determined person, and if I want something, or if, you know, I put my mind to it, like I always end up kind of like sticking to it and getting it, I guess you can kind of say. I'm very persistent, and I knew that I didn't want to, you know, give him up for adoption, nor did I want to even go through with abortion. Nothing against it, personally. You know, I'm pro-choice. If you want to go for it, go for it. It's your body. I feel like every woman has the right to decide what she wants to do, based on the situation that she's in. You know, if she can't like financially provide for, you know, a baby at this point, if she's not in the spot to have a child, or whatever else the circumstances may be, then so be it. But I personally felt like I wanted to have Averick, and you know, that's what I did. So second semester of grade 10 is when I got pregnant. Went through schooling, finished that in school, and then I had gone to do my schooling online at the beginning of grade 11 through OCDSB, which was like super helpful. So my prenatal classes that I was going to throughout the summer was at Bethany Hope, and they pretty much kept on like leaning me or like trying to get me into like, like, what are you gonna do for your education? Like, obviously, because the stereotype is a young girl gets pregnant and she doesn't ever really finish her schooling or whatnot. And I wanted to beat those stereotypes. I wanted to be that model for, teen moms out there who do want to pursue an education or a career. I have always kind of had that, and obviously AVRIC as my base foundation, as my motivation, and to show people that, like, yeah, you know what, this isn't always what it is. It's not always like, oh, she's just sitting on the couch and not doing anything with her life. Like, no, it doesn't always have to do that. I have to be that way, but it's also a matter of how people go about the situation and the means that they have in the support system. If you don't have people who can watch your child for you here and there, if you don't have that family that can kind of be there for you, and my family has helped me out so much, and a lot of where I am today, I need to give them credit for, because I wouldn't be where I am right now had I not had them by my side to babysit AVRIC whenever I need to do my schoolwork, or just having time for myself and just being able to self-evaluate and be like, you know what, like, this is where I want to get to. What steps do I need to take in order to get to that? So having that support system, having that, base foundation is definitely something that a lot of teen moms don't have, which does make it hard. And that's another thing that society doesn't understand, is that not every teen mom is fortunate, and it's not that they want to bring their kid up in a shitty situation. They genuinely might have just felt that love and connection to want to keep their child, and unfortunately it did result in them not being able to finish their education just because they didn't have the means or support to do it. And that is what it is. But honestly, I think that everything happens for a reason, and I got through first semester of grade 11 through doing courses online through OCSB, and that worked out totally fine. Like, my average, I had an 80 average, and then I had AVRIC on October 27th, 2016. So he was actually premature by like 4 days. It was 36 weeks and 4 days when I had given birth to him. So that was that, and I'm gonna make another video pretty much explaining like the labor and delivery. But it was a good pregnancy overall, but the labor was definitely something else. It was very hectic, and like, looking back on it now, I didn't really have all the time in the world to kind of process it, and most of it's kind of like a blur to me just because of the situation that I was in. But back to like I was saying, so finished first semester with like an 80 average with all my online courses through my school board, and then had AVRIC in October, and then I had to take like maybe like a week off. Like, I wasn't really as active, and I had to let all my teachers know, like, listen, I just had my kid, like, and they were super supportive and really respectful of the fact that like I had to kind of adjust and take that time for myself and be like, listen, like, I need to kind of like care for my child. I need to recover from that traumatic experience of having, or like at least giving birth, and just kind of settle in and get into my own skin again. And then I went back into school second semester physically. That was very difficult and very challenging just because I felt so alienated and out of touch with a lot of my peers, just because I was definitely on a completely different page than a lot of the grade 11s who were, around me, like, they were out partying, and I was just kind of like, go to school, come home, spend time with AVRIC, give him his bath and feed him and all that stuff. And then it was schoolwork and all this. Like, I didn't have much of a social life. I had a few close friends. I've had the real ones who stuck by me throughout my pregnancy. And, I mean, they know who they are. They've always supported me. They've always been my backbone. And for that, like, I'm forever grateful, because a lot of people do switch up on you. And it did happen to me. The girls who I were friends with in, like, grade 9, whenever I moved to the high school that I finished at, you know, they were with me from the start of grade 9, and then, you know, I got pregnant, and they switched, and it's not, I don't hold any aggression or anger towards them if they didn't feel like they can kind of handle being friends with somebody who was in a situation where they were pregnant. And, like, that's them. It is definitely a lot of responsibility and a lot to handle and take in as somebody else, but I feel like they also weren't thinking about myself and what I was going through. So, I mean, I did get through it, and I feel like, you know, what you do go through helps build you and make you stronger at the end of the day. And being able to go through my schooling and graduate and not have to go to, you know, any other type of way to get my diploma, like they at Bethany Hope and whatnot, they kept on, like, you know, like alternative school and this and that, and I was like, no, I'm going back to my school. That is how it's going to be. I'm going back to my school. And, you know, I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm going to go back. I'm going to finish my education, and I'm going to graduate on time with the rest of my peers. And that's exactly what I did. I don't feel like having a kid should be an excuse or some type of roadblock. Of course, it's definitely difficult. But I think that if you really put your mind to it, if you really find the way to get to it, if you find the resources, if you look for the resources to help you get to that point, it makes all that much more of a difference. Even having your kid in daycare, you know, if you don't have your license yet, go out, you know, get a job, get money, find, you know, that income to get your license and, you know, get a car. Like, personally, I have my license. I had my first car. I bought my first car in grade 11. And it was just, you know, it definitely did help. So, I mean, I did have help from family with that. Not paying it, but to look for a car and whatnot. But definitely all the little things do help. So, I mean, it's definitely a learning process. And I feel like, you know, as I've said probably like 20 times already, everything happens for a reason. And, you know, Averick's going to be 3 this October. As for, you know, I'm just going to kind of like get into like where we are now. So, we're pretty much, we're still living with my mom and her boyfriend. He's in daycare full time from like 8 o'clock to 3:30, and he's super active. He's talkative. He's everything that you know, a 2.5-year-old pretty much would be. He's definitely got my sassy attitude. I see a lot of me in him, but he definitely does look like his father. And, you know, so I graduated high school. I'm currently attending Carleton University, and that's going super well. I'm going to be taking summer courses that actually start pretty soon, depending on when I edit and post this video. I probably have already started it, but you know, it's amazing how all these things added up to me getting to this point. You know, like it's amazing, and I couldn't be more proud of myself, and I couldn't be more proud of the people around me who, you know, despite a lot of the hardships that we've encountered over the past almost 3 years, like, they're the real ones. My family, they're the real ones. My friends who put up with me, like, I couldn't thank them enough for everything that I've been able to achieve and get to. And it's unbelievable, and it's astonishing how much things can change in such a short amount of time. And, you know, I think it's just amazing, honestly. So I definitely wouldn't recommend getting pregnant at a young age. You know, if it happens, then it happens, and however you choose to go about it, it's your decision completely. Don't ever feel obligated to ever go with what other people are forcing you to do. It's your body, it's your decision. Base it off of what you feel and how, you know, you interpret whether or not you may or may not be able to provide for the child. If you can't, then, you know, do what you need to do. If you can, do what you gotta do. At the end of the day, I'm a strong believer of it is your choice, and you should never feel pushed into a corner where you need to make a decision that at the end of the day you're gonna make and then possibly regret later on in life. So, you know, you need to do what's best for you, and if you're in the situation where you're pregnant, do what's best for the baby, and just think about all the factors, and that it's not just about being pregnant. There's also the aftermath of it. You know, there's messy situations where if you're not with the father, you gotta deal with that. You gotta deal with co-parenting. Sometimes court is brought into the situation. Luckily, personally, court has never been brought into the situation for myself and my son's father. He's always kind of been in and out of the situation, and I think we're still trying to find that balance to co-parent. Things were going good for a little while, and then, you know, we hit a roadblock, and you know, I'm just doing me, and I'm taking care of Averick, and, you know, it's, in a sense, it's always just been Averick and I grinding with each other, and, you know, just on our own thing. So I feel like it's just always gonna be that way, and it's just always been meant to be that way, and it's really all trial and error. And you just really need to think about all these things. You know, it's a lot more than just having a baby. It's a lot more than that. There's, you know, career, there's education, there's just how you're gonna parent, whether or not you feel like you can parent. You know, it's a lot of work. It's a 24/7 thing. Your child is in daycare and you're still worrying about them, and then you go pick them up and then you have them all night, you know? You got them on the weekends, you got them all the time. It's not just like a once in a blue moon every like whenever it's convenient type thing. Like, your child is always going to be with you. And that's something that people don't understand, is that, like, they think that, hey, I'm just going to pop out a kid and, you know, it's whatever. But it's really not just that. So, I mean, if you feel like you can handle it, then by all means, go for it. And, you know, raise that baby, but, like, it's not the ideal situation, and you really kind of just need to find that balance with yourself, your social life, education, work, and also being a mother and or a father. Because, you know, I don't want to just speak for the teen moms, obviously, like teen fathers. You're out there too, whether or not you are involved or if you're not, or whatever situation it may be. You know, you do have a child and you are obligated to care for that child, regardless whether or not you did or did not want the baby. It's here, and you can't make that child suffer because you have any type of hostility towards it, you know? And, you know, that child is going to feel a connection to you for the rest of its life, and I feel like it's worth it to kind of give it a shot, to at least be there for it and love it and show it that it's not, you know, it's not unwanted. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to affect the child, is if it's feeling it's not unwanted and all these negative circumstances. So that's pretty much my advice, and just kind of like an insight to my 15/16 pregnant video. Just to clarify, yeah, so I was 15 whenever I got pregnant, and then I turned 16 in June. So I had him when I was 16, but got pregnant when I was 15. But, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I definitely do know that my next video is going to be labor and delivery. That will be interesting. It might be a little bit squeamish, just because there's going to be some pretty vivid details. And I definitely want to add like a few pictures and whatnot into it, so that'll be interesting. So, I mean, subscribe and give a thumbs up if you guys kind of like this, and let me know what you want to kind of see more of. All the feedback helps. I'm still trying to figure out all of this, and I feel like a lot of girls obviously post like their 15 or 16 or whatever pregnant story, and I love it. Like, I generally just want to like get my story out there and just kind of help any, you know, teen moms or fathers that are in a situation like I am, and just kind of give the best insight, or even for people, you know, who do want to have kids in the future, just kind of give you an insight as to what you're looking into for the future, in a sense, you know, what it comes with, you know, being a parent and whatnot. But yeah, so I mean, if you liked this video, subscribe. There's a lot more to come with it. There's a lot that I have planned, a lot that I want to do. There's going to be a lot involved with Averick. Definitely want to do like a day in the life of type thing, and just like our routine. Probably going to do that on the weekend. And just kind of let you guys see that and what we do on like a daily basis type thing. So again, subscribe, thumbs up, and give me feedback on what you guys do want to see, and what you guys did like about this video, or what you want me to clarify more in the next. And yeah,